Hello, loved ones. This is Matt Stevens, and I hope that you are doing like I am and doing super duper fantastic. Yes, if you're not, well, then you should be, because why not, right? So, I had been debating on doing a video where I am talking about reset theory. And I recorded one, sort of. And I'm pointing out examples of reset, right? Like, for example, in the Genesis story in the Judeo Christian Bible, how it says that, God was hovering over the water and then began creating. It's like, what water? I mean, it wasn't created yet, I guess, or was it? And then we see further after he created man and woman or whatever, and he told them to be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. The word replenish means to restock or to make whole again. It implies that there was it was stocked or it was whole, then it wasn't, and now we're going to do it again, which indicates a reset. Much like the hovering over the waters, it indicates the reset flood stories that are throughout history. Then I'm reminded of like the other stories, such as when they found the woolly mammoths perfectly preserved in the permafrost in Siberia with buttercups that they were eating, they were grazing, still in their mouth, still intact, frozen permanently, like flash frozen in an instant. I mean, that's what it would appear to be. These woolly mammoths were in the. I gotta believe that it was a nice warm, beautiful afternoon. They were grazing, eating buttercups. Everything was great. Then, in a flash, everything was frozen. And then we find them frozen in the permafrost, perfectly preserved, so much so that buttercups were still in their mouths and still perfectly intact. So that doesn't exactly sound like, I don't know, some catastrophic asteroid hitting the earth and they're running for their lives and all that. That sounds as if someone pushed a button, hit the power button, just boop, just stopped what was going on the planet at that time. We have so many instances of this in the fossil records. There are, and these are things that they call forbidden archaeology, things that cannot be explained, but yet they're there. They are there. Yes. English is fun, ain't it? So anyway, since we're on the subject, loved one, because we're not, please hit the like button for me. I would so appreciate that. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. And if you want to, that would be fantastic. If you would, please share this video with someone that you think may be interested. So yes, resets. That's a big part of simulation theory. And there are so many instances throughout history. Now, granted, you can't just Google it and find them. And that, again, that raises a whole other set of questions as to why. Who would want to hide these little tidbits of information that are out there? For example, there are fossils of big fish eating a smaller fish. A fossil made while they are in the act of that, right? While a big fish is chowing down on the business end of a smaller fish. Just as if it was the power button, like as if the stop button were hit, and it's bam, everything's frozen in place. And then we look at these buried cities, buried in the water, buried in the ground, such as Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. It's buried in the ground. archaeologists would like to have us believe. And by the way, that's just one of many, many sites, tepe sites in Turkey. But they would have us believe that these sites were purposely buried to hide them, meaning whoever built them then went and moved dirt to cover it over, which is ridiculous. For one, how enormous these sites are, and two, the amount of dirt it would take to fill that in is incredible. And there's nowhere that much dirt could have been taken from. There you would have been it was so much dirt that you would be able to tell where it was brought from. Let's just put it that way. But it does appear as though they literally sunk below the ground, as if the ground were liquefied and these structures just sunk below. And I realize how crazy that sounds. I do. However, it's there. It's as if things just stopped. It's like, okay, let's bury this. Much like if you were to wipe a hard drive clean on a computer. Just the same concept. If you wipe a hard drive clean on a computer, you restore it back to factory settings. But any computer geek will tell you that it's never really fully restored. There's always going to be artifacts. There's always going to be evidence of previous runs if you know how and where to look. Very much like these artifacts that we are finding in the ground. Same concept. It's as if the surface of the earth were wiped clean. But if you know how and where to look, you can find traces of previous runs. Now, what do I think of all that? I don't know. I just know what the facts are. I know what has been presented to us. I would love for you, dear loved one, to comment and tell me what would be a acceptable explanation for things like this. For example, I mean, there are evidence of cities buried underwater. For example, oh gosh, what's the one? It's off the coast of Japan, southeastern coast, in the China Sea. Anyway, it's a huge complex of a very, very elaborate city that is now below the ocean. It's as if it was on the surface at one time, and the stop button was pushed, and then it was like, okay, let's pull this part of the earth down under the ocean. Let's push this part up, for example, and make mountain range out of it. Why that? Why would I bring that up? Well, because in the Andes Mountains, way up in elevation, there are fossils of marine animals, even whales. Fossils. Thousands and thousands of feet up in elevation. It's hard to believe, but yet it's there. And this is what they call forbidden archaeology, because it's things that archaeology does not want to have to answer. It's things that they don't fit. It does not fit in their narrative. What they've told us about history, what they've told us about archaeology, what they told us, the things that they found, this flies in the face of all of it. And also, if there are reset cycles, which if you watch the Archaeology channel, you will see that at least he has found that. Now, whether his findings are ironclad or not, hey, I don't know. All I do know is that it seems pretty compelling that this guy on Jason Brashears on the Archaeology channel can predict, based on ancient calendars and history and all that. Now, have we actually seen it in our lifetime? No. But besides all that, it's the other things that have been found, such as the woolly mammoths perfectly preserved. In fact, the Russians who found those in Siberia, I think they had some big dinner, some big extravaganza, whatever, where they disclosed their findings, and they actually ate mammoth steaks that they brought out of that permafrost. Yeah, they said they were delicious. Actually, they said these woolly mammoth steaks that had been frozen for thousands of years or whatever were delicious. Not sure I would have partaken in that. I don't care how well preserved it was. Still thousands of year old meat, right? But hey, whatever. Point is, these things have been found. There are indications of resets, even in the Genesis story in the Bible. It's a reset story. God hovered over the waters, then began creating, let there be light, and all of that. But nonetheless, there was water. And then he told the people to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Replenish. Restock it. Renew it. It's something to think about, dear loved one. I would love to know what you think of this. It does appear as though someone pressed a stop button. And for example, in the case of the woolly mammoths, like they were just chilling, blah, 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 the stop button was pressed. Bam, they instantly flash froze with the buttercup still in their mouth, undigested in their stomach. They're perfectly preserved in permafrost ice. It's amazing. That's just one example. Then you have the marine animals way up high in the Andes Mountains. We have all these sites that are buried underground and underwater. Yeah, evidence of cities buried in the ground. Evidence of cities, ruins buried everywhere. Or the ones in the Amazon rainforest, the Mayans. They say that there was very potentially millions of people that live there. However, there's not one trace of them. No big massive die-off, no massive graves, nothing. It's just as if they disappeared. It's like, well, why would they leave? Why would the controllers or whatever it is of this construct, the programmers, why would they or God for that matter, why would they leave the little artifacts? Maybe they can't help but leave the artifacts, just like in a reboot of a computer. Or maybe it's like, well, let's leave that as little clues. If they find it, then they'll start questioning, like we're doing now. I don't claim to have the answers, dear loved one. I don't. Anyway, yeah, I'd recorded a video. I guess I just did another one. I recorded a video about that. Of course, I was a lot more, I don't know. But these are questions. And these are things that we can point to. And I know what it says, what it's telling us. But for now, I want to know what you think it means. That would be great. Anyway, loved ones, that's what I got. If you would, please hit the like button if you have not done so yet. And also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so. And yeah, let's get more into this stuff, right? For now, that's what I got. I do love you. I do. And I'll be back directly.